Now I'm curious because I play both these games, and Genizad is a fantastic creator. I play both these games, and I want to see what redemption that they have. I know they've made amazing updates, but let's see what Genizad has to say about the whole thing.
2025 has finally arrived, and in 2024 we had two very prominent children's gambling simulator games released, Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Now, in
Gotta love
most
my
cases,
gambling.
this would only be a cause for celebration because now everyone has more games to play. However, gacha game players are a tribalistic bunch, and after you waste hundreds of hours or
And that is an understatement. People get attached to a gacha game like it's their relative, like it's their only family member that they have left. And they'll defend it to the death, even though there's nothing to defend. Just because they'll say, "Oh, just because you don't like to play my game, well, your game's trash because my game's the best, and don't you dare say anything's wrong about my game." It is just wild, the tribalism that goes on, just
steal
wild.
enough money off your mom's credit card, eventually you find the need to justify yourself somehow. This
Uh-huh.
caused one of the most toxic wars I've ever seen between fandoms over which game was better, with seemingly both at each other's throats when in reality, it was just 0.1% of chronically online morons in their communities non-stop trashing.
It is always the loudest majority of the communities that are spouting this bullshit left and right. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be politics, games, sports, whatever. It's always the loudest majority that there is. They they want to be the loudest that they can possibly be, and like he said, it's only like 0.1% of the community, no matter which way you split it. And just because of that, they really give the rest of the community a bad name. This goes for Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Arc Knights, whatever game you can name. It just gives them all a bad name, no matter what.
Each other on Twitter. If someone praised one or criticized the other, you'd be labeled accordingly a Curlbot or a Hoyo shill named after the developers Curl Games and Hoyoverse. On
Oh
the first
yes,
of every
beautiful.
single month, the two would battle it out on the Gacha Games subreddit using the Gacha revenue charts to prove that their game is better than the other, or just
Which wasn't it proven that the Gacha revenue charts weren't even really accurate? It was more of like a guesstimation of what was happening. I could have sworn there was something going on about that where it was kind of like it wasn't necessarily accurate. It was just guesstimated numbers that was more or less what they made, and it also didn't show all platforms, and it was just a really not reliable source. From what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but from what I remember, that was what was going on. So that whole gotcha revenue charts was just BS to begin with.
justify why they spent their college fund on a PNG. However, this war is not the point of the video. No, rather the purpose is to illustrate how both of these games have recently done something incredibly impressive that is rarely ever seen in the gacha sphere, and how it could affect the future of high.
And I'm sure he's about to get into it, but Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero have made huge quality of life improvements and huge strides to try and make their game the best they can. And I really commend them both for doing the best they can and making sure that we have interactive story, interactive models, something that you could really sink your teeth into. Unlike things like, now I love Honkai Star Rail, but they've really been dropping a ball on everything. Now character designs they have down, but like the story, the lack of the story's been all right, but the delivery of the story has been bad. But I'm getting off topic. We're talking about Wuthering Waves and Zenless.
Budget gacha games. And as always, if you enjoy this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be making more videos like this, or go to twitch.tv/Genizod as I stream daily. Recently, both Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero have released some enormous changes to their games. Patch 1.4 for Zenless fundamentally overhauled multiple core systems of the game, adding personal character ults, removing the TVs from the main story, and excited a ton of players.
The personal character alts, I will say, is probably the most game changing update they could have done to the game. It made it so smooth. Uh, Before you would only use one alt because if you have the older teams, if you had Ellen on your team, of course you're going to want to use her alt after you stun the characters. But that just means you'll never see the alt of the other characters, and it just really slowed it down to where you only did her alt, and now you can really speed it up. It feels more fluid. It feels like there's actually purpose to the other characters besides just using their skill. It feels a lot better, and if they did nothing else besides that ultimate change, I would still be happy with the game, no doubt.
Players with events, freebies, and a long-awaited character release. Wuthering Waves released version 2.0, exceeding players' expectations in multiple ways by making a new continent with really unique biomes and a flight system making exploration.
Same thing, except with the flight system. The flight system is so much fun. It makes it so fun to traverse. I really don't like just using fast travel points. Like, they're fine if you're going like cross continent, but to just move around, I feel like it's not pointless. I feel like it breaks you out of the game. It breaks that immersion. But being able to fly, glide, I love it. It feels so much better. It feels so much better, and I love it.
Exploration exciting again, while also writing a well-received story and hyping players with new characters. These two updates were not only the largest to happen to their respective games, but also have done the impossible, actually listening to the players for once, which never.
Yo, who would have thought that making a game great would involve the feedback of the community you're making the game for? Who would have thought? That's amazing.
Happens. This shows they actually can put the effort in and listen to players to make a better experience for everyone, just most gacha games don't. Many players will always settle for less
really
games they enjoy and often defend them to the death. But through valid criticism and possibly lowering revenues, both games were able to improve to what they are today. Whether players want to admit it or not, if the games had never begun to falter or have to compete with other games, they may never have reached this point. Competition leads to excellence, and with so many games in the market, unless you step it up, you really won't be noticed. Well, unless you're some garbage like Fake Grand Order. However, since their launches, I'd seen both communities very defensive of their game against all criticism. Now, obviously, not all of it is valid. Especially after release, people who hate the game will trash it, like me, but then they move on and you'll hear less negativity. As the company, it's important to sift through the criticism and find valid and real ones for games to be better. Both Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero had previously released fairly close to one another for being such huge releases.
Which they were trying to target that. On Hoyo's side, they were trying to target it so they landed on the same update cycle as Wuthering Waves. But Wuthering Waves had the bright idea of switching, or I think they delayed. No, they brought up their update so they weren't directly in sync and direct competition with Zenless Zone Zero, which I feel like was a great move. It is a very big brain move on their part.
In the gacha sphere, which immediately started some conflict despite being completely different genres of games. You may as well compare Path of Exile 2 to Marvel Rivals.
They're basically
both have one thing I believe was in common. They were both released prematurely. Let me explain by talking about them one at a time.
Yeah, please.
Wuthering Waves on release had numerous issues. It had terrible optimization to the point many couldn't play.
Yo, I know he's about to list all the bad things, but in actuality, no matter what he says, it's probably still worse than what he's saying. The launch of Wuthering Waves was so terrible. Kuro devs they felt so bad that they basically gave us like 2 free 5 stars, 2 standard free 5 stars to make up, as well as a bunch of pools and everything. It was ridiculous. I personally, on my end, I was fine, but a lot of people were having a lot of issues, like the game just crashing, frame rate bugs, and all of that. It was terrible.
play, and people's phones were basically nuclear reactors,
Oh yeah,
Chernobyl
100%.
2, and even on PC it could crash or lag. The story and voice acting was abysmal. They had recently rewritten the entire story after negative feedback, and realistically, it's pretty hard to rewrite so much in a short amount of time and have it work, and it really showed. Thank God they had a skip button. As for the voice acting...
Are you feeling alright?
Yo, Yang Yang, in no hate towards the voice actor, but with how the direction that they made her say these lines, dude, it was probably the worst character I have heard. Because it's like, it didn't feel like she was supposed to be a monotone character, but it felt like that she was forced into being monotone. And oh god, it killed everybody's vibe. Just hearing her talk without that skip button, I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't have got it through. The intro, it was terrible.
Okay. Whoever the VA director was clearly hadn't ever heard English before, because even Jeff Bezos sounds more human. While the game overall had a good skeleton, it required large updates to truly become what it was meant to be. Firstly, the 1.1 update added better story, voice acting, and music with Mount Firmament. Also a lot of optimization. Then 1.3 pushed the story, music, and area design even further with the Black Shores, and a lot more optimization. Now finally in 2.0,
wow, I'm seeing a trend. With every new update, they optimize it further. It's crazy. If only every game would do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a developer, so I don't know. But personally, I feel like every game should do that.
The game has improved almost every single facet from the base game with insane upgrades to exploration and area design, and now the music has elevated itself to bangers you actually enjoy instead of boring noise. Also, this update probably would have been received well by players and considered a great patch normally, but the real cherry on top, the actual best part of the entire update, is the flying system. Genuinely, not even a meme.
No matter what you say about Wuthering Waves, the movement, every part of the different movement systems, the running up walls, the double jump, the glide, and now flying, it makes it feel so good to just move around and just explore. It does not feel like a chore. It does not feel like you're slogging through it to find the things that they want you to find. It feels fun. It feels exciting. It feels like something you don't mind doing. Even if you're not looking for things, just going around, jumping off a cliff, flying around, gliding, seeing the entire landscape. It is just fun to just play the game, to just mint pick on the game, just doing nothing else but exploring. It is just a fun game.
This actually changes everything. And once you try them, you literally cannot go back to 1.0. That trash-ass no-fly zone feels worse than a Dark Souls swamp. Running is for complete losers, and I'm never going back. Next, Zenless Zone Zero.
You know, I didn't even know that. I didn't know you couldn't fly in the other zones. I have not left Renacida since I got there, because there's really not a need to unless you haven't fully explored. So I personally didn't even know you couldn't even fly there. That is crazy. I don't know if I could go to new zones. They're gonna have to update it so you can fly everywhere, because if that's true, that is crazy.
While the game overall was much more polished than Wuthering Waves on launch, it still had some huge underlying issues. Firstly, it had the TV puzzle system. Everybody loves that system, right? But it was widely hated by players, even in previous betas.
That they probably would have launched with a 10 out of 10 if they did not have this TV system. This TV system, quite literally, just killed it. The TV system was the worst part of the game, hands down.
And replaced a large chunk of the gameplay. Also, the average age of players was probably too young to even know what the hell a CRT TV is. So unless they play Smash Bros. Melee, they probably were confused what they were even looking at. This system was so polarizing that they even stated on Twitter they would remove it, only to then retract the statement shortly after due to backlash. Secondly, some of the gameplay decisions made no sense, such as every character sharing the same ultimate bar. You would only ever use the strongest character's ult and never even see the other team members, which anyone who played for an hour could honestly tell you. Duh, you're gonna ult with your strongest member, right? Also, they didn't really have any endgame to play, so there wasn't much point in getting that much stronger, and with no world to explore, you kind of ran out of content really quickly. Now, since the start, they've improved the game in tons of quality.
They have so much in-game content. They have two different towers to do. They have shield defense. They have the roguelite mode. They have a lot now. They really up their game with everything that you can do. They really put their best foot forward on this game. They really done good.
Quality of life ways, even allowing you to run around as an 8-foot tall furry if you're really into that. They've also added way more games.
Which, out of all the characters, why would you pick Ben? To anyone, why would you pick Ben? You have so many better options. Please have more respect for yourself than that. Please.
To the arcade and are slowly fleshing out some more. They added multiple endgame modes to play, including an infinite tower to challenge, finally making a big budget gacha have more difficult replayable content. They also made Miyabi, who is easily the most fun character in the game at the moment, while also power creeping everything previous. Imagine playing Ellen Joe in 2025. They're even making a skin and a story for this sorry ass.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was probably their worst decision to make a skin for a character they already just power creeped. Like, who is gonna play Ellen when Miyabi just came out? The first Void Hunter, their Emanator. Uh, who? That's just really setting yourself back, because not only is their gameplay styles just completely different, the numbers just aren't even similar. She doesn't even do like half the damage Miyabi does. It is just unfair in every way. And they do come out with a skin like, hey, please buy it. I know we just power creeped and made this character irrelevant, but hey, give us some money so she can look like a schoolgirl instead of her maid outfit. What?
Ass shark girl.
Should have came out with a Miyabi skin instead. Because they did Ellen dirty.
Well, just so you don't forget she exists. Now, you might disagree. You might say the games weren't released early. However, when you compare the 1.0 launches to what they are now, it's night and day. Not only in content, but also in quality of life, core game fixes, and player satisfaction. Most gacha games do not improve to this degree in such a short span. In fact, it is such a stark contrast that I don't even see the two communities fighting anymore, because they're actually enjoying their games rather than projecting their dissatisfactions towards.
Amazing. You give the players content and give them so much stuff to do, they do not have time to bitch and moan about other players' content. That they literally solved it. They're just like, you know what? Our communities, they're sitting there whining like little children. So give them as many stimulating toys as possible so they shut up and go sit in the corner and have fun. And that's what they did. And it's working. You don't just like he's saying, you don't see these people bitching anymore. They're actually doing stuff. These people are spending countless hours every day just exploring the game to find out the Sonata caskets, the treasure chests, and everything like that. And then they're having all these in-game things, trying to do the endless tower, trying to see how fast or how far you can do it. They're busy beyond belief. It's almost a full-time job playing these games now.
Towards another community. Have you ever noticed that when there's no content or anything new in a game, the community starts to get into all sorts of drama and unrest?
Fake news. China.
Obviously, content creators want to make content on that kind of stuff, but also just way more negativity and animosity between players as well. Suddenly, the two games have had the drama well dry up because they actually elevated the levels of their games so players can stop bitching. Now the drama's in Honkai Star Rail where it belongs.
Okay. Your words, not mine.
Now, there is one thing I would like to note for anyone watching. I actually don't.
Mr. Pokey is fucking cooked with the random ass fucking statements he's been saying. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Enjoy Zenless or play it anymore. However, that doesn't diminish my respect for developers that actually improve their games to please the players. Did they listen and overhaul so much for money and player numbers? Probably, since it never happened in Genshin or Honkai to this degree. However, that doesn't mean the developers aren't also passionate about the game. I don't have to like the game to acknowledge when it does something right. If more developers did this, then the competition would also have to, essentially creating an arms race of better games, bigger patches, and more improvements, otherwise they'd fail. Too many.
Criticizing game creates improvements. Improving the game makes players happy. When players are happy, they don't bitch and moan. When they don't bitch and moan, they don't cause drama, and everybody stays in their own lane. That's how it is. That's how it should be. Just be happy with your games.
These successful games sit on their ass and improve nothing, even when they have the ability to. Just look at Fake Ground Order. The game's garbage and never improves, but still makes so much money just because there was an early game with a huge IP behind it. And look at how many non-gacha games got destroyed by tiny developed indie games last year.
And the Game Award goes to Balatro.
Yo, so many people were angry about this. They're like, what the f is Balatro? Who beat my Wuthering Waves? Who beat my Zenless Zone Zero? How dare they?
Congratulations again, local fans.
Competition
People just like playing
breeds
guard games.
excellence. For us, the players, this is literally a win-win. When players begin to spend and play less, it sends alarm bells to the company to begin change immediately, which let them push out such good updates sooner rather than in 2.0. Also, I just enjoy seeing people genuinely having fun and enjoying their game rather than pretending to like every little thing as though the game's amazing constantly when they
Doro. Doro.
give you one pull or some crap. Finally, there's one huge thing that we've all learned together. If players quit or stop spending money, the company actually begins to listen. They have to. Maybe if we all
They
shake
don't have a
hands
choice.
and agree to quit our favorite gacha games for a month, they'll release the best patch of all time. You in? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks a bunch for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more, and I hope to see you next time.
All right, that was a fantastic video by Genozad. Very good insight on the redemption of these two games. They both had pretty disliked launches, and right now they are probably two of the best gacha games out right now because of how much people love them, the content they have, and just the effort that the developers have been putting into the game. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to Genozad, and have a good one. Peace.